Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chisom, your coding companion, and today we'll be diving into the wonderful world of JavaScript. Today we'll be treating some handy array methods in JavaScript so you can utilize them in your next project. So I have just a basic setup, just the HTML file, has a couple of tags. I linked my style sheet and my script file. And then I just have the H1 and another list to list the useful array methods that we're treating today. Then I don't have much in my styling. I just set in a color scheme of light dark in the HTML so that I can have this. If the user is in dark mode currently, so it's like this. If I was in light mode, it would be something else. It would be black text on a white background, something like that. And I just change the font family to system UI. So nothing much there. Our main focus will be on JavaScript. Okay, now I believe you know what arrays are, and if you don't, arrays are simply a special kind of object in JavaScript. They hold list of items, like they hold items, a collection of items. So that's what an array does. Now there are a bunch of array methods. There are a whole lot of array methods, numerous number of array methods. But today we'll just be treating 5 of them, which I find that I use more often. We'll start with the forEach. Now, the forEach method is an array method that loops through every single item or member of an array and then performs a sort of a function or a computation or a calculation utilizing that particular member. So let's say I have an array, so I can call this people's array. Let's say I want to just go through every single element of this array, every single member, every single person in this array, and then just log the person's name. Now I can do that easily with forEach. So it's very, very simple. These are the syntax go. I just have to call the name of the array. So I called my own people array. I can spell people array dot forEach. So it's a method. So you have to call it. It's not a function. You call it on the particular object you're running. And now, thank you, VS Code. So it takes in a parameter, and that's the callback function. The forEach takes in a parameter, which is the callback function, and this callback function is what handles, like it was where you specify the function or the computation or whatever you want, the calculation you want to perform on each element of the array. So I'm just going to, you could as well put a function name there, but I don't need to. I'm just going to use an anonymous function here. And what was I? Sorry. So this is my function. Basically, I'm using an arrow function here. You can use whatever kind of function, like I said. And let's say I want to loop through each item and then log the item. So now, this is the function. Now, primarily, whenever you're using it for each function, you are utilizing two major things. First to be the item, that's each member of the array, and the second will be the index. So two things are made available for you. The first is the person. So in this case, it's a people's array. I'm just going to say it's person. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it item. But this maps out to every single person each time whenever this thing runs. So every time it's running, when the loop starts, is this person represents each item in the people array. And then, so let me just start with that. And I say CLG console log person. Now straight away, if you check the console, you see that every single person within my array has been logged. First person, Chisom, second person, Victoria, all of them have been logged. So this is very, very handy, very, very useful. Now I said that there's also a second parameter that I usually primarily also use, and that parameter is the index. Now this index, it returns the index of that particular element. So let's just say I want to log the index of each person beside them. So let's just say I just have persons and then says is 0 index. Now if I log this straight away, you see that first person name Chisom index 0. So that's the position Chisom takes in the array 0. So you notice that if I should move this now and save, you find out that Chisom is 1. So basically what happens here is that this index references it's indicating the index of the current item within this area of the loop. That's what this index is doing. Now you can actually utilize this to do useful stuff. Maybe you want to perform a particular action for a particular user in a particular index, or you want to do something else. That's why this index is here for you. Now, one thing I should mention is that the forEach does not mutate the original array. So maybe I want, after performing all this computation and I did some things, the people array still remains waiting. So if I should go over here, so CLG, log people array, can you kindly bring it up for me? Thank you. Now, if I log people array, you see that I still have an array of 6 items: Victoria, Chisom, Success, Chimera, Chris, Favor. Basically the same thing. But the forEach, like I said, forEach, like I said, doesn't mutate the original array. And unless you specify some things within, maybe you do something funny. But forEach wasn't built to mutate the array. It only runs a particular function, just goes through that array, runs a particular function for each element of that array, and then like goes his way. And another thing you should notice that the forEach doesn't return anything. So if, for instance, I log this, and just say this, you know what, let me just say const results. So the results, if I should log this to the console, log results, you'll find that result is undefined. That's because forEach just his own business is just to run that this function for every single member. It's not returning new array. It's not doing anything to the original array. It's just there, just like a passive function that just helps you do something. Quick utility function that helps you get started for doing some things, and then just goes his way. It stops there. That's for the forEach. And we move on to the next one, which is the map. So I'm just going to comment this out so that I can work with the next one. Now, map works, it has a similar syntax with the forEach, and it works in a similar way, except for the fact that unlike forEach, the map returns a new array. So when you carry out map to perform a particular function over every single element in there and that array, it performs that computation using those elements and then returns a new array with the results of those computations in each element. So I'm just going to do something very basic here. And just like forEach, very similar to forEach, it doesn't mutate the original array. It returns a new array. So basically, if I just do this and say const, no, let me just, before I introduce it, let me just say people array.map. You see that it basically did the exact same thing the forEach did. It went through, looked through every single element of that array, and then performed an action. But it is working in a different way. Now let's leave this logging of a thing. Let's say I want to actually do something for each person in that array. What I want to do is maybe I want to run some function that if the index is an even number, I want to indicate that it's even, or if the index is an odd number, I want to indicate that the person is an odd person. So I can do something like this return. You're returning. So this is this. In case you're not familiar with this dot is the rest and spread syntax. Particularly in this context, I'm spreading it. You can read up on rest and spread on MDN docs or anywhere at all. It's ESC stuff, ESC related stuff. So I'm basically just saying for each person, just whatever is available in the person, just bring it back into this place. So basically, like here now, see, okay, if I hover, you see that here I'm seeing name of string. So basically, whatever is within this each person object, just like add it here. So now I'm just like bringing the object in. So the properties of the object in rather. And then maybe I want to add, is it even? So let's say type, should I call it type, anything. So type, and let me use the ternary operator, if index divided by 2 is equal to 0, then return even. What's wrong with my keyboard? Return even, else return odd. So basically what this thing is doing is that it's checking. This is the modulus. Would I say modulus? Or whatever name this operator has. What this is doing is that it's checking if the index is an even number. So if it's divisible by 2, if it's divided by 2 and there's no remainder, then it's, if an even number is an odd number, then it adds this type of type property to each person object. So now if I should log the final array here, so remember I told that this returns unlike the for each function, for each method. So if I should log the result, you should see that what I have now are the same thing. I remember it's done a new array of 6 items, but now for each array there's a type. So for example, Victoria is type even here because her index is excuse me, this user's index is an even number. Odd, so type odd. So everything is working. So I was able to perform this computation and then append to what I had initially. Now, like I said, the map method does not mutate the original array. So my original array still remains the way it is. So if I should just log the people array, you would see that the people array, which is the second one here, still remains the way it is. But then I have a new array with this stuff that I have here. So the map function is particularly useful in frameworks like React. I use map function a lot when I'm working with React. It helps a lot, a whole lot. That's just it for the map function. And then we also have the filter function. Now, the filter function works in a very similar way as where it has a similar similar syntax to the forEach and the map, and yeah, you can say it works in a similar way, but it has its own little perks. Now, what the filter does is that it checks if every single member of an array passes a particular criteria, and then filters that array based on that criteria. So if a member passes that criteria, it is returned to a new array is returned containing that particular member. You get. So let's say I want to run through every single person here. Let me just add a gender prop here. So I have gender, and gender is female here. And let me just copy this gender prop very quickly. In case you're wondering how I'm able to add multiple cursors, I'm holding Alt and I'm clicking on VS Code. That's how you add multiple cursors. Let's see, male, female. So, oh yeah, and for that multiple select I did, I held Control D. And if you want to select all instances at once, just Control Shift L. You can learn more about VS Code shortcuts, but that's not really the focus of this video. So now let's say I want to maybe I have an array of users, and maybe I'm running some kind of thing, function in my organization, and I only want to run this function for the female users. Now I need to find a way to filter these female users so I can be able to utilize this thing very, very beautifully or very, very effectively. And I can use my filter function. Now the filter function, just like the map function, returns a new array. It doesn't mutate the original array, and it performs a particular computation. It checks if every person or every member or every element of a particular array meets a certain criteria, and then if they don't meet the criteria, they are filtered out of the array. But if they meet the criteria, they are returned in the new array. So let's just write a function that will help me do that. I'm going to cheat as well again and just copy this because it's basically the same syntax I'm going to be using. So I have this guy here, filter. But here, what I need to do is, I don't need the index now because I'm not filtering with the index. Now what I want to do is, I want to return only those that their gender is female. So I'm filtering through each person. So this person represents every single person here, every single element here. So I say I'm returning. Now, you always want to return a Boolean through the filter. If you return an object like what we had before, the result would be like it won't change anything. If you try to return weird values, then JavaScript's type coercion kicks in, and then if you return maybe an object that's a truthy value, it will return true for every single item or something like that. To avoid issues like that, always return a boolean whenever you're running a filter function. So let's say I want to return person dot gender is equal to female. Now, what this thing is doing is it's going through each person. So first person is Victoria. Then it's checking their gender. So person.gender. In this case, the person.gender is female. It now checks female, is it equal to female? Now this expression here will return true. So it returns true to the filter function. It means that Victoria will be added to the new array, which is the result array that's going to be returned. The next time it runs again, it runs Chisom, gender, male. Then it checks person.gender, male. Male equals female. Obviously, this is wrong. It is false. So it returns false. And then Chisom is filtered off the array. So if I should log the results here, I have CLG results. Now you see that I only have 2 items. Why? There are only 2 people that have their gender as female, Victoria and Favor. You see that? Very, very, very clear. If I want to I want to do the opposite effect, I can just say gender equals male, or I can just negate it, and I have an array of order of operations. That's what kicked in here. So yeah, that should work now. Yes. So I have the male. Very, very, very straightforward. And like I said, it doesn't mutate the original array. So if I still log people array, I can spell. I don't know why this always happens. You see that the people array second here is still the same thing, just Victoria, Chisom, Success, Chimera, Favor. That's just it. Very clear, very, very simple. Now we go for the last 2 methods, which is the sum and the every. Now the sum and the every work in a very, very similar way, but they have a clear difference. Now they are also very similar to the filter method in that they work with booleans, but it's actually different. Now the filter method, remember, it returns an array that contains the items that pass a particular criteria. So but the sum and every function, they return booleans. So they actually, just like the filter, they check if every element or if elements pass a particular criteria. But then instead of returning a new array, they return a boolean. So let me just explain what each of them does now. So sum, and just to state it out, every single one of these methods, you can also access the index of that element, of any elements here, for every single one of these methods we've been treating so far. So let's just continue. So what sum does is that it checks if there is any element in that array that passes a criteria. If even one element passes that criteria, it returns true. It returns true. But if no single element passes that criteria, it returns false. So sum and every return a boolean. Then every works in the opposite way. It checks if every element in an array passes a particular criteria. It only returns true if every single one of those elements pass that criteria. We're just going to do that now. So I'm just going to copy this. So I have this sum, and I'm just going to remove this. Oh, you know what? Let me not remove that. Instead, let me remove this negation so it can be straightforward. Now, what I'm doing here simply is that I'm checking these people array if there is any element that passes this criteria, that has a gender of female, then return true. That's just what this sum does. So if I actually log this result, so log results, you see in my console true. So sum is running this. So, but let's say if I change this now just to prove a point. So if you notice that my gender can either be only male or female. But if I come over here now and I just change this to female, you see that what's on my phone console is false, because there is no single person with a gender of female. You get. Then let's go to the next one, which is any. So I say any, every, any. Dang it. Okay, so I have every. Now, what every does is that it checks, like I said, if every element in that particular array returns passes a particular criteria, of which now in this case you see is false. That's because there are some males here, there are some females here. You get, so it's not every single element in this array that's a female. But let's just say I just change this thing to say person.gender dot includes male. So includes male in this case mean this is dot includes is a string and an array method. It just checks if this particular thing is within the string. For this, in this case, we're talking about strings. It checks if this particular expression, this particular string is contained within the parent string that we're checking. So it's checking for each gender, does it include the text male? So here, female includes male, male includes male. So that's why if you check the console, you see that it's logging true. That's because every single every single element within this array passes this condition. If I change this to female now, it will return false. So these are the five useful array methods that you should know, and you should try using that in your projects. They really help a lot for each. So each of them has their different use case. So you have to think carefully on when you're using. There are specific use cases where you need map. There are cases where you need for each. So generally, the map and for each option is always very simple. It's always easy to know when you need. All of them, it's very easy to know when you actually need them. You need if you need maybe you want to perform a particular computation, a particular function on every element of array, I need to return a new array. Having the result of this computation, use map. But if you just want to like run one passive function that just does some things based on the number of elements in your particular array, you can opt in for your for each loop. Filter, you know what it does. Sum and every, you know what they do. So I will leave that one to your own discretion. And that's the rest for today's coding session. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to never miss out on our coding escapades. I would love to hear your opinions about this video, and if you have any video requests related to front-end technologies, please indicate those in the comment section below, or you can DM me privately, and I would see to it that I carry it out as smoothly and as swiftly as possible. And until next time, happy coding and stay awesome.